Hi everyone, my name's Angela, and I was telling people about what I've been doing with my son, and people would keep saying, please record this so that we can reuse it. So here we go. That's me and my son. He just matriculated at the end of, just results this year, and was definitely not going to be doing any formal further education at this point, and doesn't really have a big idea as to what he wants to do with his life or even very clear next steps. So I was very supportive of a gap year, but there's nothing more irritating than having a perfectly functional and capable child lying on his bed with his cell phone. So that was not going to happen on my watch. And as a learning and development person, I decided that something must be done. So I had researched the whole year and a whole bunch of stuff previously, but then at the beginning of this year, actually put this all together in what I'm calling the home approach, the gap year home approach, because this is something that any of you can do. Essentially, what I did was I started doing and stopped talking about this home approach. And that's really the most important part, is you just have to get things moving. So I identified 6 skill areas that we could start developing skills in, rounding out this young guy. So life skills, workplace, digital, interpersonal, spiritual, and relationship building skills. So I'm going to show you what goes into each of these skill categories per se, and then I'll tell you how we go about doing the program and how this all works. So when I thought of life skills, I'm sure all of you will be thinking similarly to me, these kids can't do anything. So cooking, baking, washing, ironing, making a shopping list, going shopping, unpacking, doing price comparisons, budgeting, thinking about how much gets spent. He actually does spend money on our behalf, and then he invoices us. So he has to keep all the slips and then compile an invoice and invoice me, and then I pay him at the end of a month. So it's that kind of money management thing. If he doesn't invoice me, then he doesn't get paid. We've got cars that need maintenance, pools that need maintenance. So these are the things of life. Then workplace skills or workplace readiness is to try and understand more about the workplace. What options are there? I didn't want to distract his matricia with doing job shadows and so on. So this now, on a semi-regular basis, try to do it once a week, but it doesn't always work, is to go to a workplace. And not someone who's sitting behind a desk, because he can watch me do that, but somebody who does something, like some actual work that you can see visibly. But not just that, also read articles about the areas that he's interested in. Apply for internships if there are, or participate in semi-formal internships. So it doesn't have to be like overly structured. Any kind of way of making money. So student jobs, if you can find that, great. And then there are numerous different courses that you can do. So he's going to do one in March and probably another one in April. Just a different type of learning. It's much more in-person, much more practical stuff. And then, of course, there are things like volunteering, which is to consider. And a combination of these things. It doesn't have to all happen in January. It's a case of spacing these ideas out over a period of time to round out the kid. Then the very important digital skills package. So there's a lot you can do online that's for free. So I've put there a link to FutureLearn, which is about digital skills, and there's 8 different courses there that are all for free. Then various different tools like Canva and Animoto, that you can actually use these tools online for free, but you need to be designing towards something. So I occasionally come up with a project that he needs to design for, or he's built a website. I should have put Wix on there. He's built a Wix website for his own business, and now he's designing adverts and videos for his own business, which is he's going to do some sports massage. So he's launching his little business over time using these skills. Then the part that I actually think is really important are the interpersonal skills, and that's stuff that nobody teaches these kids. So unless it just comes naturally, which for many it does, but for others you have to make it explicit. So here's a bundle of skills that we're focusing on, and some resources and links for him to go and look up for himself. And I first came across the Distilled Man, and he's got some really, really nice practical things like a first impression, like walking with confidence, like how to do a proper handshake, very aimed at young men. So obviously I'm sure there's the female version of this as well. Then for us, what's important is spiritual practices. So finding a mentor, listening to particular podcasts, putting that as part of his week. And then the relationship building was the most recent, when I realized that maybe he wasn't actually getting out enough. And I don't want him to be depressed because he's not meeting people. Now, doesn't have a particularly big social circle. So this is actually being very purposeful with reaching out to people and going to have coffee or inviting them out in order to expand social skills, social circle, networking, and so on. And starting a new club or starting a new sport, something that will keep him going. So those are the skills categories. Now, the process is that the categories are available to him, and he has to select one activity from each category at the beginning of the week, and then we plot those onto a flip chart calendar. It's flip chart in my office, but then he takes that away and does it on his desk in a different way. And most of this requires a bit of research anyway. So if you're going to do pool maintenance, he needs to research what that means, or talk to his dad and go and do something with it. Just really putting his own effort in to learn how to do these things. Even the digital tools, he keeps coming to me and asking me for help. I'm like, no, dude, that's what the tutorial is there for. Google is your friend. YouTube is your friend. Figure it out. I just want to see the end result. And obviously there's coaching in between and encouragement and checking in on things and so on. So it's not completely hands off, but it's easy to ask for help when we all know that actually there's a lot you can do to help yourself, and especially with anything online. In fact, pretty much anything. Now, a lot of the things that I've given as links are free, but of course, if you're going to go to a week's course or something, you're going to have to pay for them. But I think having that kind of budget available, you're not paying for school anymore, so you can use that money for short courses, so that at least at the end of the year, they have a few certificates, they have a few more skills in their box that they can move into the next year and whatever that phase is for them. Now, important for me is that he learns as he goes, but that he has to be quite conscious in the learning process. So at the end of the day or at the end of the week, he needs to maintain his learning journal, and has these 3 questions to write down, or at the minimum talk through: what have I done, what have I learned, and what difference will this make for me or others? So those 3 questions are just a nice drumbeat of summarizing what you're learning, netting things down, because you can do lots of videos and actually learn nothing. So this is a way of making it more conscious, the process of learning more conscious. And also because sometimes you can get to the end of a day and you think you've done nothing, but on reflection, you have actually done something. You did research how to do pool maintenance, and you did actually go and do the pool, but dad disappeared, and so you ended up not doing it properly. Or we had ironing the other day, and he managed to get out of that, so he hadn't done the ironing. But it's kind of be conscious of the fact that you were doing things, you just weren't lying on your bed, and that's the part that I just want to make sure doesn't happen. And he only lies on his bed when he's truly resting and on the weekend. So I hope that's helpful for you. I have the link to our Word document template. You're very welcome to that. I'll paste it somewhere accessible. Feel free to download it and make it your own. And if I can help you, do get hold of me.